public affairs liaison with the Ohio Treasurer's Office.
Yeah, this is perfect over here. Yeah, John Gomez, Southwest Regional Liaison for the State Treasurer's Office. So good to see everyone. I just wanted to come in and give you guys a brief update on everything we have going on in the office. First, my colleague Griffin Weasel is here from our office in Columbus. He's down here in Southwest Ohio with me for the day. So I always like to kind of break down the things we have going on in the Treasurer's Office into two categories. We have one, the government side of things, and the other is the consumer focused side of things. On the government side of things, our Star Ohio program is still doing very well. I believe the county's invested in that. The stat they always like us to throw around is we've just surpassed $1 billion in interest earnings for local governments across the state. So doing very well. People are very happy with that, which we're thankful for. Our Ohio Market Access Program, OMAP, is also seeing a lot of applications. Kind of the general theme of the Treasurer's Office is when interest rates were low, no one really cared what we had going on, but now that they're not so low, people are starting to care again. So the Ohio Market Access Program is doing really well, and that basically allows local governments to utilize our credit rating as the state, and we have the highest possible credit rating with AAA plus or AAA-M, depending on which one you're looking at there. So that's doing very well as well. I think there are a few municipalities here in Warren County that are taking advantage of that.
So basically, you're a backstop for local government bond issuance?
Yeah, we can be, as long as they're not in fiscal emergency, pretty much, yeah. We're able to do that. So I know Forest Park down in Hamilton County utilizes the program every year, and they saved, I think this year was around $115,000 to $120,000 in interest. The city of Springfield uses it every year for their infrastructure projects as well, and they're like $130,000 in interest savings every year. So that can go from the county can utilize it all the way down to the local school board or library board or park district or any political subdivision.
So basically, you underwrite them, because essentially you're obligating the state to take on local debt.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how it works. And they have to go through a credit review with us instead of, we'll do a credit review instead of them going to Moody's or Finch or whoever to do it. So, but yeah, that's pretty much how it works. So
when you say political subdivisions, does that also include like port authorities?
Yeah, I think they would count under that. I'd have to double check, but I think they would count as well.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
We would certainly like our port authority to have a AAA bond issuance.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, I actually wrote it right down here on my piece of paper to follow up and look at more specificity on that, and then get our director of the Port Authority just to kind of make sure we're understanding that. And I mean, we have projects out there that potentially could utilize that across the board. And then there are things that we've done from like an infrastructure bank and those items that we look at all avenues. So this is a good avenue to sit there and potentially pursue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we also have, Treasurer's Office also runs CPIM, the Center for Public Investment Management. We have a conference coming up on that with focus on economic development again. So if there are any local government officials that need their CPIM training, learn more about that sort of stuff and all the tools we have available at the state level, that's coming up at the end of the month. So that's, the government side of things. It's the less exciting. On the consumer side of things, biggest update out of the Treasurer's Office is back in January, we launched our Ohio Homebuyer Plus program. Program started with 0 users back in January. Now we're over 18,000 across the state. And essentially what the program is it's an enhanced savings account for anyone looking to buy a house here in the state. You go into your local financial institution, as long as you're over 18 years old and a resident of the state of Ohio, say, hey, I want a Homebuyer Plus account. They'll say, great. You'll get whatever their savings rate is, say it's 4%. You'll get that 4% plus another 2.6% from the state treasurer's office, tax-free. And every dollar you contribute to that account is income tax deductible. You're able to save up to $100,000 over 5 years, and you got to use it to for a down payment or closing costs on a house here in the state of Ohio. So it's exploded. Put it that way. It has gone, like I said, from 0 accounts to 18,000 just over the last 9 months. So we're going to start hopefully seeing the benefits of that really start to come into fruition soon. But it's done very well. And I always like to bring up 2 other good features of it. First being family members are able to contribute to these accounts as well. So if they have if you have a kid or a grandkid, you're able to give up to $5,000 every year for a state income tax deduction on that money. And also, employers are able to contribute to it as well. Right now, it's a pre-tax benefit, but it's, we view that as a great recruiting tool for our companies here in Ohio, because, we still see workforce being one of the big issues across the state. So having another tool to recruit people and get them involved is something we always like to promote. We also do already have a change coming to the program, hopefully soon. When we initially created the program, there was a bit of an oversight as to how the law was written. So it's specifically for residents. Now, there's one population of people who live in the state who don't necessarily fall into that category, and that's active duty military. So someone stationed at Wright Pat, for example, could be stationed here for 5-10 years, and at no point do they ever technically need to be a resident of the state of Ohio. I have a friend who lives in downtown Dayton. He's lived there now 4 or 5 years. At no point has he ever been a resident. He's technically been a Texas resident this whole time, so he doesn't pay income tax. So we introduced a bill in the State House, along with some local representatives, to update the law that whenever an active duty military member is deployed to Ohio, or they get their letter that they're going to be deployed to an installation here in Ohio, they'll be eligible for a Homebuyer Plus account. As of now, that it passed the Senate unanimously, and we're waiting on the House, so we'll see what happens there.
And that's for a first-time home buyer?
Any home buyer.
Any
So,
home buyer?
Yeah.
So
So,
as long as the money then is used towards a down payment eventually?
down payment or closing costs. Yeah, and on a primary residence.
And if you gift people money, it's deductible from your state income?
Yeah, as long as they're an Ohio resident, you're able to. So if you have, it has to be family members, but yes. So, and the limit's $100,000, so it's completely FDIC insured as well. So it's a pretty good investment. It's I think that's evidenced by, we have, I think, 65 or so financial institutions on board so far, with another 65 to 70 going through the approval process to get approval to join the program as well. So it's spread pretty quickly. We started with 8 back in January, so now I think by the end of the year we'll be over 130 financial institutions across the state. So yeah, people have liked it so far. So beyond that, we also have our AgLink program. That's probably, Homebuyer Plus is probably our most popular program right now. AgLink is definitely our second most popular. AgLink is a link deposit program for farmers and people in the agriculture business. Essentially, they're able to get 2.5% to 3% off their operating loans up to $500,000. So, like I said earlier, a lot of programs in the Treasurer's Office weren't super popular when interest rates were low, but now that they're not, they're a lot more popular, and AgLink is the best example of that. In 2022, I think we had about $3 million in interest savings across the state through AgLink, which was great. That was a record. 2023, we had another record year. That time we were at $14 million in interest savings across the state. And already this year, as of, I think, July or August, we've passed $9 million in interest savings across the state. So we're anticipating another record year for AgLink. And with all the drought going on across the state of Ohio, we like to promote the program too as another way to help make that hopefully a little bit easier, relieve some of the pain that farmers and people in the ag business are feeling this year. Although the last week straight almost of rain has hopefully helped out a little bit as well. So AgLink doing very well as well. And the last one I'll mention right now is our stable account program. Stable accounts, for those who don't know, are for individuals with disabilities. Right now, the way Medicare has its rules set up, you're not allowed to have more than about $2,000 in assets before you start losing benefits at the federal level. Stable accounts are a legal way around that. You're able to save up to $31,000 a year without losing any of those federal benefits. So, and that's broken down to two parts. It's an $18,000 roughly base, and then another $13,000-ish next level if the individual is working. So we've seen that program, one, grow tremendously. When Treasurer Sprague took office in 2019, we were at about 3,500 accounts total. Right now, we're at about 45,000 accounts. So it's grown tremendously. Right now, the way the program works is your disability has to begin before the age of 26 to be eligible. That number is going to go up to 46 here in 2026. So right now, while we see it mainly incorporating a lot of people with developmental disabilities and things like that, our anticipation is a lot of veterans and people, you know, hurt on the job site and that sort of stuff are going to start to be eligible once that age cap goes up. And Stable is probably one of the more, you know, fulfilling programs we have out of the Treasurer's Office. We've seen a lot of people utilize that money to live independent lives that they weren't able to beforehand. I know one of the first things I did when I started working for Treasurer Sprague was we went over to the coffee caravan just right around the corner, and a lot of their employees utilize Stable accounts as well, and it's done very well for people in the disability community. So always like to promote that, and October is Developmental Disability Employment Awareness Month. Kind of a mouthful, but this month our goal in the Treasurer's Office is going to be to go around and highlight those employers who are doing, you know, taking the extra step to employ those with developmental disabilities and, you know, utilizing Stable accounts to do that sort of thing. So that, unless I'm missing anything, I think kind of covers everything we have going on in the State Treasurer's Office. So if any of you have any questions on any of those things, happy to answer them.
I was just gonna ask on the Stable account, I mean, my assumption is you have, but like Megan Manuel and those that run our MRDD, I mean, have you had opportunity to meet with them and explore that? If not, I would just
Yeah.
wanna make the connection. But
Yeah,
if you have,
yeah,
okay.
we've, so beyond just, you know, myself and our other regional liaisons, we have an entire department dedicated to Stable accounts, and they try to be pretty active in reaching out to all the boards of DD, and whenever we learn of employers, trying to reach out to them as well. And as, you know, with that too, I'll always offer, if anyone ever needs a presentation on Stable or wants to learn more, we're always happy to do kind of full-on presentations, and you know, or if there's ever a community resource fair or something like that. I know he and I are going to one later today, actually up in Sinclair and Dayton. So it's one of the more fulfilling programs we have. And I also should mention on Stable accounts, to open up a Stable account, it's a $25 initial minimum deposit. As of I think April of this year, the Treasurer's Office is matching that. So now it's essentially free to open up a Stable account in the state of Ohio. And we're also working really hard to bring down the fees to zero, ideally. Right now it's $15 yearly in fees for a Stable account. It's our goal to get that down to zero. So we're doing a lot to make those even more accessible to people here in the state. Any other questions? Well, I'll just leave you with a little teaser, I guess. Next year, hopefully early next year, we will have a small business program coming out from the State Treasurer's Office that works like AgLink, where small businesses are going to be able to get a interest rate reduction on loans they take out. We're still waiting on specifics on when we'll be able to launch that program, but as of next year, it'll be called Buckeye Business Advantage. That'll be out sometime early next year, and I'm sure I'll come back around and give you guys an update on that as well when we're able to do that. So with that, if anything else, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys letting me come on.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Very good. Got a couple more agenda items this morning, including an administrative hearing on Royce Machine PUD Stage 2 in Union Township. Bruce, I take it this is an administrative hearing, so I've got to follow the script.
Just swear in while it's testified. That would be nice.
Very good. Since this is an administrative hearing, I'm going to ask anyone that wants to testify on this matter, if you'd please raise your right hand, stand and raise your right hand. Do you so solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. And if you speak, go ahead and state your name and say, yes, I've been sworn in. We appreciate that.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Hadil Lababidi, and I'm a planner with Warren County Regional Planning Commission, and I already sworn in. So today I'm presenting Royce Machine PUD Stage 2, planned in Union Township, and PUD Stage 1 was approved by this board in January 2024. And for PUD Stage 2, the Regional Planning Commission Executive Committee already reviewed this plan and recommended approval on August 22nd of this year, and today we meet for a decision of your board. So looking to the project overview, the applicant and property owner are Mark and Connie Barton, and site area is 2.165 acres. Current zoning for this site is I2 PUD, which is industrial PUD. And looking to the site location, it's located in Union Township along Lebanon Road, east of State Route 48 and north of I-71. And this is an aerial for the site. Zooming in to see the existing conditions. And as I mentioned, the zoning for this property is I2 PUD, and also the map showing the zoning districts for the surrounding properties. And this is the site plan that was provided by the applicant. So there are currently 2 existing buildings, single-family house and shop building. And the applicant is proposing another structure of 80 by 100 square feet. Also an addition to the existing shop building of approximately 2,000 square feet. There is also an existing access point along Lebanon Road with a gravel drive, and the applicant is proposing another access point also along the same road with also gravel drive, and also proposing 15 parking spaces. There are 2 septic areas on the southern portion of the property, and the applicant is proposing an addition one on the northern portion of the property for future use. The property or the site is served by water through a cistern. However, the applicant chose a proposal for water lines from or tapped will be tapped to City of Lebanon Water Service. And we received comments from City of Lebanon that the water service will be available only upon annexation. Also received comments from the County Health District that the sewage treatment system is not on file, so the applicant has to locate and mark them on site prior to building.
So why are they not annexing this if they can't get water?
Excuse me?
Why are they not annexing this now and let the city handle zoning?
I think Mr. Borton can speak about that, but I believe he's not interested in annexation.
So the water is not a do or die issue, okay?
Yeah. And with this, the RPC staff recommends approval of the Royce Machine PUD Stage 2 to the Board of County Commissioners, subject to the following conditions, and I will highlight some of them. So item 3, the proposed new access point to Lebanon Road shall receive approval from the Warren County Engineer's Office. If the additional access point is denied, the applicant shall submit an updated site plan removing the driveway. 4, the site's internal vehicular circulation receives approval from the county engineers prior to the approval of PUD Stage 3. The engineer's office shall determine if a traffic impact analysis is necessary, and if it's required, it shall be done prior also to PUD Stage 3.
And so this is currently zoned to PUD, and it includes general industrial manufacturing, correct? Yeah, well, I'll call on you, sir.
And item 5, the applicant shall submit a stormwater management plan approved by the county engineer's office prior to PUD Stage 3. 6, compliance with the requirements of the County Health District or the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. Any existing leach lines or other portion of the system shall be located and marked on site prior to building. The proposed wastewater systems shall receive approval from the County Health District prior to PUD Stage 3. If it's determined that the use will generate more than 1,000 gallons of wastewater per day, the Ohio EPA will have jurisdiction to review the septic system and shall approve the system prior to PUD Stage 3. And number 8, no temporary or permanent signs shall be placed within the road right of way, and all signs shall comply with Article 3, Chapter 6 of the Warren County Rural Zoning Code unless otherwise stated in the PUD standards. Also, we have 2 items here, and for item 10, we requested from the applicant to submit an updated site plan with the items listed below, and the applicant already submitted the updated site plan. So with this, I conclude my presentation, and I'm ready to take any questions.
This was brought before us before, correct?
Yes, it brought on January of this year for PUD Stage 1, which was rezoning to I2 PUD, and received approval from your board.
We did.
And also, Mr. Borton is present to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and call on the applicant.
Good morning. Name's Mark Burton, 2358 Lebanon Road, Lebanon.
And yeah, have you been sworn in?
I have, yes.
Thank you.
A couple of what I think corrections that I at least, I think she's misspoken. We're currently zoned at I2, and we're going to an I2 PUD. Just trying to make sure everything's correct.
So your current zoning is industrial 2,
Yes, sir.
and you're requesting a change to a PUD?
Correct.
Okay,
The
Now,
PUD,
That's already been granted.
okay.
As Hadil indicated, this board approved the rezoning to the I2 PUD already.
Okay.
That's behind the water over the
all right,
bridge.
just want to make
Here,
sure.
we're on a preliminary site plan
Okay,
for purposes of the commissioners approving the layout of your buildings and other improvements.
okay. I stand corrected. The southern driveway that runs along the bottom of the screen and the loading area on the east end to the right are also in place already, so I wouldn't consider those proposed at this point. We went forward with that, believing that it ought to be done, regardless of the PUD. What we have been doing historically is going off the east end of the property. We've been doing this since 1953. We were told that we need to put an end to that, so instead of just a driveway running up the middle of the driveway, we now have a horseshoe. We've created flow, and as part of the PUD, I was asked to designate a loading and unloading area, and that's at the right, the east end of the property, so that is already in place. I offer that only as trying to be as correct as is.
Well, correct me if were some of the neighbors upset with this, or?
That was my
Neighbor
neighbor
south.
to the north.
Yeah.
We have been renting a pole barn that was on my originally my grandfather's farm, my uncle's farm, just to the north of the property line at the far east. A couple years ago, my uncle died. The Holdens have bought the property and they'd like use of that barn. So I have to do something, so I wanted to put up a new warehouse. And I've never met anybody that put up too much building. So we've proposed the largest building that my wife will allow. We gotta keep her happy too. So
And then, I'll ask, but is there, that neighbor that was upset, I mean, have you worked it out with them, or are they?
I don't have a problem with him and never did.
Okay,
The people that are unhappy with him probably still are, and they won't talk to the guy.
okay.
He's a pleasant guy.
But you were using a facility on that property until it was sold.
I'm still using that property. He's not throwing me out, but he's asked me to get out.
Oh. So is that an issue?
That's why you're building that.
That's why I'm putting up the new building.
All right.
And 80 by 100 is basically what Connie will allow and be reasonably happy with anyway. And the reason that we're before you with the zoning change is I-2 has a setback off the property line of 50 feet. I'm proposing a setback of 20 feet. We'll pull it building 22 feet back, just so there's room for error.
With the PUD, are we allowed to change the
Yes.
setbacks?
Yeah, that's why
So
you
we don't,
do.
we
That's
we
why
aren't,
you do.
so we aren't changing the zoning, we're just,
Yeah, you can deviate up to a certain percentage, and he's allowed to do that, and that's why he went the PUD route.
right, okay.
And the PUD's already been approved.
The rezoning component of it, and and to accomplish that, then you gotta go on through stage 2 and stage 3, and that's why we're here today for stage 2 for just the preliminary
So the
site.
PUD is there, now we're reviewing what's going on inside of the PUD.
Correct.
Right, so we're not changing any zoning, you've got your zoning. And now we're, because of the PUD, we're allowed to make this deviation that you want.
I see.
I think maybe just from clarification, when he came in for his zoning change to PUD, it was, I believe, either a week before or a week after when Mr. Holden came in for his property.
It was a week after.
Week after, and that's when the residents in the area came in and were vocal about what Mr. Holden was doing. When it came in for this particular zone change, no residents showed up because, as he said, he's been here since the 50s, or the business has been here since the 50s. And I think what they articulated, even at the meeting against Mr. Holden, was that he's been there, they're used to that, been a good neighbor. But that's where they were very close, where a set of neighbors were anti what Mr. Holden was doing, seemed very positive as to what he was doing.
Very good, and you're not fundamentally changing what you do on site there, you're not extending hours, you're not gonna be doing it to interfere with your.
This is warehousing, and I just went big.
Okay,
But the proposed building is what we're really talking about today, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's the 80 by 100-foot building. And the neighbors are aware of that building?
Yes.
And you've not heard any objections to that?
I've not only had 0 complaints, as Mr. Russell pointed out, we actually had a neighbor speak on behalf of us. He called
Are the
himself a-
neighbors immediately, I mean, is this, I don't know what the perspective is on this. Is the top the north?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Blue Rock property, the Holden property, is a 30-acre flag lot, if you will, to the north side. In front of the bottom of his flag, there are 5 single-family homes.
So
They're
are they
run-
adjacent to your building? or
No, sir.
not? They're in front of it?
They are, the front of their houses are roughly equal to the front of my house. Here we go.
site area,
Go back one.
one more, yeah, the other way, there you
Here
go.
we go.
There you go.
So they're the ones that are marked out with yellow lines. So they're not immediately adjacent because the neighboring property is between you and their first house, right?
Correct.
All right, and they're, to the extent they have objections to that neighboring property owner that used to be your relative that owned that.
Correct. I think I'm the only exception to have an objection anywhere near that property. Everybody objects but me, is what I'm trying to say, to the Blue Rock properties.
Okay, you're not objecting to your neighbor, whatever he's doing. All right,
I know what he's doing. I've talked to him. It doesn't really bother me.
okay, and the people that are in the houses that are, actually, they're not contiguous with you at all.
Correct.
How far away are they from your property?
To the north, I'd give them 250 feet, and that happens to be a cousin.
What do you warehouse in your property? What are you planning on using this for?
We're a machine shop. We machine carbon steels, stainless steels, aluminums, and plastics.
Okay,
And-
what do you have? You have what, lathes or Swiss
Lathes and
curves
mills.
or CNC machines? Do you
CNC
have-
lathes and mills, yes, sir.
Okay. And then is this new facility gonna be used for your production or just storage of your finished products or your raw material?
The intent, and I think I've been forward about this from the very beginning, is simply warehousing. We would like it to be considered that potentially we may get forced into adding into that, but there's no water in there. Currently, I have no plans to put water in there. I could see, and I have no plans,
Do
but I
your
could,
machines use water, or they got oil, or what do they use to cut the metal?
our coolant is a water-based oil.
Okay.
And we go through, because we carry buckets every morning, we go through less than 50 gallons of water a day with coolant. And then there's 6 of us using a toilet, so that 1,000 gallons seems,
How many employees do you have in this?
besides me, there are 5 more. 2 of them, my kids, that will be taking over one day when I step down. And I'm Gen 3 in this affair.
And this is what you've been doing, the same thing on this property for since?
1953.
Right, okay.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Very good, this is a public hearing. And sir, you're the applicant, do you have anything to question our staff on? Everything's been presented, correct?
Did you have any
Very good.
problem with any of the conditions?
Good.
Nothing worth arguing over.
Okay, thank you.
I was gonna come back to that question afterwards. So anyone here wish to speak in favor of this proposed change, or this PUD? Anyone wish to speak in opposition to this PUD? Very good. Then, for the record, applicant, this was recommended with these proposed considerations. Are you okay with those?
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, is there a motion to close this administrative hearing?
So moved.
And yes. Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the PUD plan that's been submitted today, subject to the recommendations of staff and their conditions.
And yes. Very good. You've got your approval, sir? Very good. Next, we'll move on to a work session considering initiating text amendments to the rural zoning code.
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Ray Dratton with the zoning department. We're here today to talk about the Warren County zoning code text amendments. Obviously, today's date. The amendments to the Warren County Rural Zoning Code have been drafted by the planning and zoning staff and reviewed by our prosecutor's office. The review process, we were here on May 7th, 2024, in a work session. We're here today for an initiation. It ultimately will go on to the RPC for a recommendation to the Rural Zoning Code, Rural Zoning Commission for recommendation, and ultimately back to you guys for your final decision. For trying to clarify some of the stuff today, the red strike through is change. The new language is in blue, and then there's an example of that below. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So today we're here to talk about the summary. Missed a slide here. Solar facilities less than 50 megawatts, the public notification process, minimum lot width, and we also have some definitions that we're going to be talking about. And our request is for the county commissioners to initiate the proposed text amendments to the Warren County Rural Zoning Code. The summary of the amendments related to solar, we're trying to add regulations for principal solar facility, define the components and the elements of a solar facility, and we're going to include the solar to the use chart in the zoning code. Other proposed amendments, we're trying to restate the public notification process for various zoning applications, clarify the requirements for lot width and minimum lot width, modify and clarify the family non-residential access requirements as far as driveways, and then define, redefine lot, street, and structure. Solar energy. So here's some of the proposed, in the table of uses, I said we add principal solar. We add regulations for principal solar. We, through the ORC, has given the county commissioners the authority to regulate both public and private utilities. And then there's some definitions of the components and elements of the solar facility. Accessory solar. Now, accessory solar, we currently have in our zoning code. It's basically generation, either storage, and then load, and then whatever's left over, you can send back to the grid. As I indicated, accessory solar is already there. We changed the solar energy system equipment and redefined it as accessory solar energy, and it's still a P across the usage as far as the zoning districts. Principal solar, this is all new. This is below 50 megawatts. What we've done is we've added a section in the table of uses, and you can see that the stuff in blue is new. The ground and pole mounted, all conditional uses all the way across the board, and then roof mounted, building mounted, and other structure mounted, integrated are permitted uses. Principal solar energy production facility. These are some of the areas that we address in the zoning code. I'm not going to cover each one of them. Lot size, setbacks. Where it says site plan review, remember it's a conditional use, but now part of that is a detailed site plan so that we can look at what is going to be going on these particular parcels. As I indicated, first thing we talk about is lots at least 12 acres in size. Roof mounted, may be mounted to a principal or accessory building and shall not exceed 10 feet beyond the building height. Ground pole mounted shall be no taller than 15 feet, 20% or less of on-site solar energy production. That relates to commercial and industrial. Because obviously, if you take a Core 5, we don't want Core 5 to deviate from its primary objective, which is a warehouse. But if they wanted to throw something on the roof of their monster building and generate some power, we would permit that at a 20% or less. And finally, no taller than the primary mounting structure when you're talking about building mounted or other mounted or integrated systems. So if you have a canopy on the side of a building that has solar panels, you could do that as long as it doesn't exceed the height of the structure it's mounted to. Building and solar equipment screened from ground view, we're trying to focus on what's going on at the zoo property with all the complaints we have about screening. That is written into the new proposed standards. We have some definitions as far as setbacks and non-participating, self-explanatory versus a participating. And some of the quick stuff, notifications, instead of 500 feet, when it comes to solar, we're gonna do 1,000 feet. It just gives everybody a bigger picture of what's going on. 300 feet from any dwelling, that's just to preserve, the residential sanctity of a home, I guess. Decommissioning, removed from the property within 6 months, and a road use maintenance agreement is gonna be required. Some definitions that we added to the zoning code, obviously the small solar facility, that's the ORC giving us the authority to do this. And these will be all added to section 4.1 of the rural zoning code, which is the definition section. Here's, everybody likes pictures. This will wrap it up. Ground pole mounted is the first. We currently do that both as accessory. We will now permit that as a principal. The roof mounted, that's typically also both accessory and principal. And then building or other mounted is what you see there, what I talked about, cannot exceed the height of the structure. Public notifications, there's an amendment to this, and what we've done is we've gone through and we have mandated that a 10-day sign be posted for all site plan reviews, zoning amendments, conditional uses. It's a standard across the board, all 10 days. The only exception to this is a minor modification to a PUD. That is a 14-day sign. That's the only one that will be 14 days. And here's that language in blue. The sign shall be posted within 10 calendar days prior to the administrative hearing. Minimum lot width. This is just a clarification to the chart in the zoning code. Residential zones, development standards table, minimum lot width, minimum lot frontage, and definitions for lot width and maximum lot to width ratio. Here's the chart. The stuff in blue is what we added, and it's simply to clarify and make the chart easier to understand, especially when you're dealing with subdivisions and developers. This is the bottom half of that chart. It's just larger so you can see the stuff that we've changed. We really haven't changed anything. We've just clarified the terminology. Multifamily and non-residential access and driveways. Once again, clarification. When people call us and say, I would like to know what the setback is for my driveway on my private property. Well, we don't have one. What we do is they go into the code and they see the reference to access and driveways as it pertains to Article 3, which is commercial and industrial, and they apply that to their residence, which it's not for that. We have simply added the multi-family or non-residential in blue, and we've also amended the section 4. We've increased it for residential and minimized it for all non-residential from 10 to 5. Other definitions, they're public street. You can see what was there and what we changed it to at the bottom. Once again, just for clarification purposes. Private street, the same thing. We clarified some stuff. And probably the most significant in minor structure is the fact that we added standalone generators and electric charging units. Basically, they were as a structure, they needed a zoning permit. Now, with this amendment, if it's approved, we won't need zoning request for a standalone generator and a charging unit for your e-car. And finally, this is a little sticky note, is if Crystal has a resolution to clarify and initiate the text amendments if you see fit. Are there any questions of me?
Very good. It's public work session. Anybody have any questions for staff? Bruce, we're okay with all this?
Yes, just initiating today. It'll go through the public hearing process.
Crystal, what do you got?
So I have a resolution initiating text amendments to the Warren County Rural Zoning Code.
And yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Very good. Molly, you probably had your doubts. Were we gonna be on time? Exactly on time. Recognize Molly Conley, Director of Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Molly Conley. I brought my urban staff with me today because it is Stormwater Awareness Week. So education and outreach are integral to our district's mission. So we are working all week long to help the residents of Warren County understand what they can do to protect the high-quality waters that run through Warren County. We thank you for allowing us to attend this meeting and for helping us celebrate and promote Stormwater Awareness Week. So the one thing I wanted to mention is that myself and a couple other soil and water districts across Ohio initiated House Bill 426. It's kind of stalled in committee now because of the election, but there's a couple others that is going to designate the first week of October as Stormwater Awareness Week for the state of Ohio. So I'm not sure how that affects us coming back for a resolution every year, if, I don't know, once they do that and that's a bill, if that's needed or not. But if you know Rob Peterson or Roy Klopfenstein, they're both the sponsoring members of the House. Give them a word to help them push it through, I guess. I guess we're just at this point hoping for next year, just because of the election. So it's also our 80th anniversary this year as a Soil and Water. So we have glasses for all of you that we handed out at our annual meeting that we would like to give you as well. You can pass this out, Travis. And then if you wouldn't mind coming down and getting a photo op with us with our Stormwater Awareness banner, and we can use that as promotion and get that out on social media to help get the word out about Stormwater Awareness Week.
Thank you. Well, very good. Yeah, the work that you all do is very important. I know we've integrated some of your consideration even into zoning. Bruce, did we not? That water and soil, we're consulting with them even more. Firmed up that relationship. It's very important to what we do inside of the county. Stormwater is a big issue, and I have a feeling with the growth of the county, it's gonna do nothing but get bigger. Including the fact, when we're talking about awareness, one of the biggest issues is there's a stormwater drain or pipe in my backyard. And all of a sudden, it fails. Whose responsibility is it?
We get a lot of those calls, in this week in particular.
And for the
So
most part,
we help, yeah, we do a lot of education, a lot of outreach. You know, is this do I have to accept this stormwater? This water's running on from my neighbor's property. Are they doing something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? What can I do to stop this erosion it's causing in my yard? So we do a lot of that.
correct. But for the most part, the answer to the question of if you have a big drain buried that you might not even know is in your backyard and it fails, it is your responsibility.
For the most part, yes.
For the most part. There's been some exceptions to that, but for the most part, it is the homeowner's responsibility to know what you're buying and know what's in your own backyard.
Absolutely. And then we're the public assistance agency that offers them technical advice on how to do that, how to maintain it, how to fix things. So that's where we come into play a lot of times.
Very good. With that, we are happy to present a proclamation recognizing October 1 through October 7th as Stormwater Awareness Week here inside of Warren County. So you do want to...
Thank you. Yeah, come on down.
Oh, boy.
I don't know, Crystal, can you take a picture?
She's a professional.
Just one picture. There's no one else in the audience to take this.
I have to make sure the chairs are pushed.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should go behind the banner. You guys step forward and hold it down a little.
There you
Maybe the
go.
three of us can stand behind.
Maybe Jamali in the middle.
You hold it
Perfect.
down a little.
That'll be. Hold on, the podium's in the way. Okay. I'll take a couple. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Phil.
you so much.
Very good. Hey, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Brandon.
Nope, you probably just wanna make sure I get it
Molly,
somewhat in there.
Chris and I went to, where'd we go, Candace in DC? The
Botanical Gardens.
Botanical Gardens.
Oh.
And you know what we did, when we walked on the path, it was all the dogs written down.
Oh,
Very good. Is there any other business to come before us?
We're like, oh, he's so proud of us.
Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
That's great.
And yes.